Welcome to our CFP exam prep discussion. Today we're diving deep into a crucial concept that often appears on the exam: accrued interest in bond transactions. Many candidates misunderstand this concept, so let's break it down and make sure you're fully prepared. When a bond is sold between interest payment dates, the buyer must pay the seller for the interest that has accumulated since the last coupon payment. This is called accrued interest. Think of it this way. Imagine you're buying a rental property in the middle of the month. The previous owner has earned rent for the days they owned the property, and you'll earn rent for the remaining days. Bond interest works similarly. Let's walk through an example that commonly appears on the CFP exam. Consider a $10,000 corporate bond paying 6% annual interest in semi-annual payments on January 1st and July 1st. If this bond is sold on April 1st, the seller has owned the bond for 3 months since the last interest payment on January 1st. The buyer needs to compensate the seller for these 3 months of earned but unpaid interest. Here's how to calculate it. The semi-annual payment would be $300, which is half of the annual interest of $600. Since 3 months represent half of the 6-month interest period, the accrued interest would be $150. The buyer pays this amount to the seller in addition to the agreed-upon price of the bond. A common mistake students make on the exam is forgetting that the clean price plus accrued interest equals the dirty price. The clean price is the quoted price of the bond without accrued interest, while the dirty price is the actual amount the buyer pays, including accrued interest. When you see questions about bond pricing, always check whether you're dealing with clean or dirty prices. Another frequent error is miscalculating the accrued interest period. Remember to count the days from the last coupon payment up to, but not including, the settlement date. The exam might try to trick you by including or excluding certain dates incorrectly. Here's a pro tip for the exam. When you see a bond question involving a transaction date, immediately check if it falls between interest payment dates. If it does, you know accrued interest will be part of the calculation. This simple mental trigger can help you avoid missing this crucial component. Practice questions often include scenarios where you need to determine who receives the next interest payment. Remember this key point. The buyer who owns the bond on the record date receives the full next interest payment, even though they paid accrued interest to the seller. This compensates them for the accrued interest they paid at purchase. One more thing to watch out for. Bond quotes in the market are typically given in clean prices, but settlement occurs at dirty prices. The exam might test this concept by providing a quote and asking for the actual settlement amount. Don't forget to add the accrued interest. Understanding accrued interest is essential not just for the exam, but for real-world applications in financial planning. When working with clients who trade individual bonds, you'll need to explain why they're paying more than the quoted price. This concept demonstrates the fairness in bond trading, ensuring sellers receive the interest they've earned and buyers only pay for the interest that will accrue during their ownership period.